To Jan Psaki from Msnow from we were John C. of Rosemond, California. Out here West Coast, LA area, all that sort of fun stuff. It's Saturday, January 17th, 2026, and it's well past 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm just catching up on your posting here. Cool. Just like all of your shows you've been doing is pretty cool and special. What ifs? I've been running into independents out there. Probably a few of them you've already come across. And we all have this disdain, absolute, utter disdain for Frankenstein's creature we created, all of us. And nobody will accept accountability, transparency, or responsibility. If you ever hear any whining, well, this is she who must be obeyed, my dog. She's the mummish. Yeah, an old senior, 20-year-old old black deaf. And she's an armful. And she's trying to relax. She don't get to relax sometimes. I wish we all could relax in dealing with the Trump, but unfortunately, we voted this ulcer in. We created this monster. Back in 2016, he decided he wanted to run. If we had only listened to our conscience and everybody else telling us, get this guy off the stage. But the people drank the milk. They drank the Kool-Aid. They drank the cyanide poisoned liquid. And now they're stuck with it. They're doing the metaphorical and the philosophical Jim Jones. As he's killing off America in one form or in every form of it. Starting with the 2024 November election. And he had an immigrant, a legal immigrant of so many years, who came across from South Africa and screwed up our government systems because he wanted to get more money. I don't call him a creative bastard, but I call him a sneaky bastard. He's a thief, he's a liar, and he's a cheat, like Trump. These guys go together. And then they started arguing with each other because egos will clash. I'm almost like one of the other, I call them the IPs out there. The independent producers. The ones that are running to social media, their own little empires, talking about Trump and everything else related to him. Stoking the fires of our anger, frustration, and our bile. I don't have enough milk to calm my stomach on this one. Malix doesn't work, and neither does Pepto-Bismol or Tums for me. I have to drown myself in milk just to keep the acid reflux from going up. And it's a disgusting way of talking, especially when we keep using the cursives. My mother had tried to tell me how to be respectful to people. At least to some people anyway. But when it comes down for other people that we really, really have a strong disdain for, let's just say I'm trying to keep the language down. Because in a way, I am not supposed to use that kind of vile vitriol on people, especially you. Unless you knew me better, and you'll probably look at me saying, he's foul-mouthed. Yeah, well, like everybody else I've seen and heard. Sorry, allergies are kicking in. Trump was showing his ignorance all the time, including flipping off a worker at a factory plant. Worker had every right in the First Amendment to call Trump a pedophile. And Trump, true to his nature, showed off his ignorance, cursing and flipping. If any one of our Democratic presidents had done that, you know how much of a field day they would have. They would have the press haunting and hounding him, but you don't think they would do that. Unless you're going to have somebody going up to NATO and says, I'm taking this. What are you going to do about it? And what NATO did was within the charter and the guidelines of putting up forces. Psaki, I have your permission to call you Jen. I have a little thing to navigate you through. And you're going to be doing all the work, and I'm going to be doing part of the work over here, but I'm not going to show you my results. How is your geography? Do you happen to have a map app on whatever device you're using this to watch this show? Watch this letter? I got Google Maps. The default start is where I live, outside of Edwards Air Force Base in California. And I'll give you a couple of seconds here to type that in there. Edwards Air Force Base. There you go. Did you happen to see any towns on the west side of it? On the other side of that great desert? There's home. I'm sweet home on the outskirts. Mostly Trump supporters, but even they're having their issues regarding how much Trump is going to screw them over one way or another. We're already seeing the price. We're already seeing the prices over at the stores, restaurants, of how much it's costing us to get a loaf of bread, let alone a dozen eggs. I showed you this town here. I ask you to do a wide shot till you see the arrow. This has been home for about 20 years. I'm a native of Southern California. I'm going to be turning 60 at the end of this month. I hate getting old. You're not yet there yet, my dear. Age and mileage hasn't shown on your pretty face. You tell that to your husband. This had been home for a hell of a long while, but it's also been a nuclear strike if it hits. Edwards, we have a defensive strike down in Palmdale, just below Lancaster, in that wedge, is air traffic control for the entire region, southwest region. All you got to do is just get a close up on the map, go to Plant 42, and see the neighborhood. This is aerospace country. What Trump and Musk had been doing was screwing around with our pricing, with our regulations regarding Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, life supports that we need. We got one Social Security office for the entire region. Except maybe for Bakersfield, we actually have one up there or not. And we may have one out in the city of Los Angeles. Traveling distance between from the desert to downtown Los Angeles would be about 3 hours, depending on how screwed up the traffic is. And it is. 1 second. And this is the area that Trump would screw around with. This is Southern California. This is my home. We have a lot of people using SNAP. We have a lot of homeless. Currently, we've got accounting going on for the past few months, trying to determine how many homeless people we still have. There's counting going on in the Antelope Valley, in the communities we have out here, and in the rest of Southern California. It's crazy on this guy. But there's another ulterior motive why I'm doing this. If you can widen the shot until you see the entire North America continent, with or without the cloud cover on it, slide it over to Greenland. I'll show you something. I'm going to try to have Greenland centered a bit. Now, Trump had said something about Russia and China. As I'm looking at this, and I'm going to put this under layers so I can get a terrain look. That's a satellite vision of it. Can you answer me one question, Psaki? How does China fit into the conquest of Greenland? Now, if I happen to maneuver the globe ever so much to where I'm showing the Bering Strait, as the passageway between Russia and the United States territory, and I look at China's territory, they have enough issues. They're basically declaring war against South America. South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam. The South China Sea has become the battleground, one way or another. The Cold War stands while China tries to build up more and more individual bases, hopefully to be declared and recognized, because then they would claim sovereignty and territory. But I'm not giving them that much kudos on it. Now here's the thing. How does China rate? How does China going to conquest, if I can say this right, Greenland and China? It doesn't mix in my head. It just does not. You'll have a buffer zone. Not just the United States, but you have Russia. If Xi Jinping? Is that it? If he decided to do a route to get to Greenland, I know he's got a few ways of doing this. This one would be using Russia's cooperation. Goes to the Bering Strait, and if they have icebreakers, and if the conditions are rating the icebreakers, they could skirt across the Arctic Ocean until they would get to Greenland. Now, because we have NATO and the United Nations trying to gear up here, especially NATO, there is an issue. Russia can get over there, but they would have to face NATO at this point. If you kind of look at what's above the United States, how do you think Canada would work in this situation? I mean, after all, we had threatened Canada to become part of the United States as the 51st state. Do you think the Prime Minister of the entire country would like that, or the territory ministers would like it? To be part of Trump's regime? From what I've been watching for the past several months on YouTube, she worries me at times. Caregiver to a dog for a long while. From what I can tell, they don't like the idea at all. They do not like the idea at all. In fact, they keep looking at the ambassador from the United States as a joke. So do I. So I couldn't figure out what his logic was, except for diversion, diversion, diversion. I thought the Caribbean was the diversion. I still think it's a diversion. What the hell does he want with Venezuela except for the oil fields that are not exactly easily to be processed? And from what I'm hearing, the equipment is not exactly out of date. It's out of phase of everything in life. We're talking about rusted situation here. Will the oil companies actually go for it? From what I'm hearing, no. But Trump still wants to capture and prove that he's a big ass man. He didn't know that much fast food. I don't know how much that is. I'm also wondering about Trump's health conditions. I'm wondering if he's type 2. I'm type 2. I have a lineage, genetic lineage of type 2. So it was only a matter of time before I really turned out to be one. Can't stand needles myself. I can't stand insulin. I don't like needles. Long story, a lot of videos on my own channel on this one. A Diary of a Griever named John Weaver. The title is not just a title, it's just identity of me because it describes what I've been going through in my lifetime too. Too many I've lost. Adds up to a lot of heartache. So I deal, I struggle. I'm with a lot of people who are going through this on a constant basis. But we're going to be doing a hell of a lot more mourning if Trump really can't get a hold of himself, and neither does Stephen Miller. There's a lot of angry talk out there in social media and in different platforms. A lot of it. I'm hearing it from the IPs. I'm reading it from some of the posts that they keep posting. I'm wondering how we're going to be able to get this one survived through, Jen. I'm wondering if we're going to be getting into a World War III situation, or if we're not there already. I can already tell we're already in a civil war. Well, almost a civil war for the 21st century. In order to have a war, you need to have two oppositions clashing with each other. Well, technically we are clashing with each other as we are doing the protests left and right. But there had been times we have gotten tempted too many times of going beyond it. Of really stoking the iron fire on this one. But it's the reasons why we don't, that we have to try to keep it calm somewhat. It pisses them off, but hopefully it decreases their ability to go after us. But they're trying to throw everything else they can against the people that voted them in. Which brings me around back to that 3 words: accountability, transparency, and responsibility. Jen, a little exciting experiment that you can do with your hand here. Hopefully it won't piss off people, on YouTube or anybody else, but boom, boom, boom. Now, look at where the 3 fingers are pointed at. Basically, it's yourself. Accountability, transparency, responsibility. Accusatory. A floater. One more thing. It's not just a symbol, Jen. It's perspective. Or one more thing. On one side, I can't see it unless it's on a camera. But from my own eyes, I can't see that perspective. Turning it around, I still can't see the perspective. I see whatever perspective is in front of me. My own eyes looking at reality, looking at things. Until, maybe eventually, I'll look at this and see it. But you can't see it because your perspective, your point of view, your objectivity, everything about you, the tunnel vision, is looking. You don't see that. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a guru, I'm not a scientist of any sort. Lived through a lot of stuff, screwed up a lot of stuff in my lifetime. Worked my ass off, got injured many times in my lifetime, got in surgeries. Had to do things in my life that I didn't exactly like to do, but I had to do anyway. Last 20 years, caregiver to my family. Maybe more longer than that, I guess. My mother passed away back in 2013. Big brother passed away in 2018. Caregiver to both of them. Dave and I were doing the pair on Ma. But then I was doing the solo on my big brother. Now, she must be obeyed. It's the last. Over 20 years old. I'm getting tired of it all. But the thing is, I miss family the most. It's the one thing that I don't think anybody else has ever looked upon and understood. The things that we gripe and grumble about, the things that we look at each other for. And I don't think Trump understands this damn thing. At least I really don't know if he does. He's interfering with families. He's interfering with people who depend upon each other for survival, for living, for existence, for structure and stability, for safety and love. I don't think he understands and knows this. Otherwise he wouldn't be the way he is. He keeps calling himself a Christian. He ain't a Christian. Tries to call himself an evangelical. He's not. He's a con man. And his family is structured as such. Including the youngest brat they got going out of college, or actually going through college and doing the same stuff his family's doing. So I've got no sympathy for the guy. It's a family business of con men, I think, started from well before Trump's father and mother. And it's something that they'll never grow out of. They don't understand that the actions they're taking right now have repercussions down the road that's going to be affecting a hell of a lot of people here. You and me. Everybody else that we care about. I'm not thumping on the ground. I'm not thumping anything saying you got to listen to me. No. You listened. But you knew all along. You heard it. You felt it in here. And it's a hell of a struggle, isn't it? Do me a favor. Hug your family. You got a dog? Hug your dog. I know the news is the #1 priority. Some things, some tasks have to be done. Follow this. Sometimes this will get you screwed over. Follow this, Jen. That's all I ask. Maybe one of these here millenniums will meet. But for right now, stay safe, kid. Stay safe. That being said.